Fellow gardeners, let me share something that completely changed my gardening game last summer. Picture this. It was mid-July, temperatures were soaring past 95 degrees for weeks, and I watched helplessly as my neighbor's traditional garden beds turned into a crispy wasteland. Meanwhile, my sack gardens were still producing beautiful leafy greens, herbs, and even some heat-tolerant vegetables. That's when I truly understood the incredible potential of sack gardening during challenging hot seasons. If you've been following along with the Soilsage Chronicles journey, you know that sack gardens have become one of my absolute favorite space-saving, water-efficient growing methods. But here's the thing that many gardeners don't realize. With the right techniques, these portable growing systems can actually outperform traditional beds when temperatures climb. Today, I'm going to walk you through everything I've learned about keeping your sack gardens not just alive, but absolutely thriving during the hottest months of the year. Before we dive into solutions, let's talk about what makes sack gardens different from ground-level beds when it comes to heat stress. The elevated nature of sack gardens means they're more exposed to air circulation, which can be both a blessing and a curse. While better airflow helps prevent fungal diseases that love hot, humid conditions, it also means your growing medium can dry out faster than you'd expect. The fabric or plastic material of your sacks also plays a crucial role in heat management. Dark-colored sacks absorb more heat, essentially turning your root zone into a miniature oven during peak sun hours. Light-colored sacks reflect heat better, but even these need strategic management when temperatures soar. Understanding this fundamental difference is the first step toward successful hot-season sack gardening. One of the biggest advantages of sack gardens is their mobility, and during hot seasons, this becomes your secret weapon. I've learned that the set-it-and-forget-it approach simply doesn't work when dealing with extreme heat. Your sacks need to move with the seasons and sometimes even with the daily sun patterns. Morning sun with afternoon shade is the golden rule for hot season sack positioning. Those intense afternoon rays between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. can be absolutely brutal on container plants. I've found that positioning sacks on the east side of structures, under pergolas, or even creating temporary shade structures can make the difference between a thriving garden and a stressed-out one. Don't underestimate the power of grouping your sacks together either. When you cluster them, they create their own microclimate, with each sack providing some protection for its neighbors. The collective evaporation helps cool the immediate area, and the slight shading effect reduces the harsh glare that can stress plants even when they're getting adequate water. Here's where most gardeners make their biggest mistakes with sack gardens during hot weather. The conventional wisdom of watering deeply but less frequently needs some serious adjustment when you're dealing with elevated growing systems in extreme heat. Sack gardens simply don't retain moisture the same way ground beds do. I've developed what I call the touch test method for sack garden watering during hot spells. Every morning, I stick my finger about 2 inches into the growing medium of each sack. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to water, regardless of what I did the day before. This might mean watering daily or even twice daily during heat waves, and that's perfectly normal. The timing of your watering becomes absolutely critical during hot seasons. Early morning watering, just as the sun is coming up, gives your plants the moisture reserves they need to handle the day's heat stress. I've also found that a light evening watering can be beneficial, but only if you can ensure good air circulation to prevent fungal issues. Consider installing a simple drip irrigation system for your sack gardens if you're dealing with extended hot periods. This doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. A basic setup with a timer can ensure consistent moisture delivery even when you're not around, and it helps prevent the feast or famine watering cycle that can stress plants during extreme weather. The growing medium in your sack gardens needs some special consideration for hot weather success. Standard potting mixes, while excellent for moderate conditions, often don't have the water retention properties needed for extreme heat situations. This is where I've learned to get creative with amendments. Adding coconut coir to your existing soil mix can dramatically improve water retention without creating waterlogged conditions. Coir holds moisture like a sponge but still allows for proper drainage. I typically add about 20 to 30% coir to my hot season sack garden mix, and the difference in water retention is remarkable. Vermiculite is another game changer for hot weather sack gardening. This lightweight mineral not only improves water retention but also helps regulate soil temperature. The reflective properties of vermiculite can actually help keep your root zone cooler during peak heat hours. Don't forget about organic matter either. Compost and well-rotted manure not only feed your plants but also improve the soil's ability to hold moisture. During hot seasons, I increase the organic matter content in my sack garden mix to about 40%, which honestly helps create a more resilient growing environment. Not all plants are created equal when it comes to handling heat stress in sack gardens. Over the years, I've developed a reliable roster of heat-tolerant varieties that consistently perform well in elevated growing systems during challenging weather. Leafy greens like heat-tolerant lettuce varieties Swiss chard and New Zealand spinach can thrive in sack gardens even during warm weather if given proper care. The key is choosing varieties specifically bred for heat tolerance rather than trying to force cool season types through hot weather. Herbs are absolute champions in hot weather sack gardens. Mediterranean herbs like rosemary, thyme, oregano, and sage actually prefer the well-draining conditions that sack gardens provide, and they can handle heat stress better than most other plant categories. These herbs also tend to become more flavorful and aromatic during hot weather, giving you better harvests. For those wanting to grow vegetables during hot seasons, consider heat-loving varieties like cherry tomatoes, hot peppers, eggplants, and okra. These plants not only tolerate heat but actually require warm conditions to produce their best yields. The good drainage of sack gardens helps prevent root rot issues that can plague these warm season crops in traditional beds during hot, humid weather. When temperatures really soar, basic strategies might not be enough. This is where some advanced techniques can save your sack garden from heat stress damage. Shade cloth becomes an invaluable tool during extreme heat events. A 30 to 50% shade cloth can reduce temperatures significantly while still allowing enough light for photosynthesis. Creating thermal mass around your sack gardens can help moderate temperature swings. I've found that placing water-filled containers around sack gardens helps create a more stable microclimate. The water absorbs heat during the day and releases it slowly at night, preventing the rapid temperature fluctuations that can stress plants. Mulching the surface of your sack gardens becomes even more critical during hot weather. A 2-inch layer of organic mulch can reduce soil temperature by up to 10 degrees and dramatically slow moisture evaporation. I prefer light-colored mulches like straw or shredded paper during extreme heat, as they reflect more sunlight than dark organic materials. Learning to recognize heat stress in your sack garden plants is crucial for quick intervention. Wilting during the hottest part of the day is normal, but if plants don't recover in the evening, you've got a problem. Leaf edges turning brown or crispy, stunted growth, and premature bolting in leafy greens are all signs that your heat management strategy needs adjustment. Keeping a simple garden journal during those hot seasons is a great idea. Just jotting down daily temperatures, watering frequency, and how your plants are responding. This information becomes invaluable for fine-tuning your approach and planning for future hot seasons. I've found that what works in one heat wave might need a bit of adjustment for the next, depending on humidity levels, wind patterns, and the duration of the hot spell. Managing sack gardens during hot seasons doesn't have to be a constant battle against the elements. With proper positioning, consistent watering, appropriate soil amendments, and smart plant choices, your elevated gardens can be incredibly productive even when traditional gardens struggle. The key is understanding that sack gardens have their own unique needs and adapting your techniques accordingly. Remember, every garden is different, and what works perfectly in my climate might need a bit of tweaking for yours. Start with these foundational strategies and adjust based on your specific conditions and observations. The beauty of sack gardening is its flexibility, so don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for your situation. If this guide has helped you see new possibilities for your hot season gardening, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Soilsage Chronicles for more practical gardening wisdom, and share this article with fellow gardeners who might be struggling with summer heat challenges. Together, we can keep growing great food, no matter what the weather throws our way.